What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very, very well. Welcome back to the full view. Is it technically the first full view of the new season? I guess so. It basically is the first full view of the new season, isn't it? Indeed, because the season starts tomorrow. Yes, the curtain raiser is at Old Trafford tomorrow. Manchester United versus Fulham. We've got 4 signings through the door. Not all going to be available tomorrow for various reasons, but 2 names that are Ligt, Mazraoui. They are going to be available tomorrow. Eric Ten Hag has confirmed that. So there's plenty to discuss. Big up Bidder, big up Rich, big up Marcel, big up Kenny. Collective breath, 24 hours away. A lot of positivity I'm feeling tonight. It's going to be good. Be sure to smash the like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. First of all, I think we should just sort of go around and just say how we're feeling ahead of the season, right? Eric Ten Hag had his press conference earlier today, this evening, talking about a variety of topics. Of course, the biggest topic that people wanted to know about was, are Ligt and Mazraoui going to be available? Are they going to be in the squad? He confirmed that they are, thank God. He also did confirm that Harry Maguire is also going to be available. So there are a few defensive options to pick from tomorrow. But Marcel, I'll start with you. The epitome, the positivity. Positivity is Marcel's middle name. How are you feeling going into this season? I remember one of the last times we spoke, you were a bit uncertain about the transfer window and where Ineos were moving. 4 players through the door, granted one's injured, maybe some more outgoings, maybe some more incomings to come. But how are you feeling?
Good. Thank you very much, Owen, and big up to everyone. And I'm thinking back to now a tweet that Mina made regarding just the overall outlook of the rating that you would give the transfer window regarding said players have come in. And I think right now we've got 4 in out of the potential 6 that would have come through. And I said 9 out of 10 if all 6 had come through. Right now, it's only 4, so I would give it about maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10. And then, obviously, like I was saying about before, Owen, I was talking about the outgoings. I was saying it's imperative to get these outgoings happening, and it still hasn't happened. So, if, touch wood, there's no injury. If the injuries happen, then, we could be resulting back to a similar situation that was in before. But having 3 centre-backs that are capable of playing the way that Ten Hag wants to play, Martinez, the Ligt, I've seen a couple of training videos of him in training, looks really good, solid, big, strong lad, fast as well, looks like he's quick off the mark as well.
Lightweight according to Souness. Lightweight, remember? Lightweight.
Is it?
Souness
Yeah.
Nah, I don't believe that. He looks solid. He looks very solid, Owen. But, having, Euro there, okay, injured at the moment, but, when we get into maybe the latter or October, November, December, he'll be back and hopefully in good form. You got the Ligt there, Martinez, that looks like a completely different back line. So I'm just really, really happy of where we've progressed now. He's going into his 3rd season and I'm expecting top 4. Hi, Steph. I'm expecting top 4 and I'm expecting, a trophy, another trophy, this season. He's the one that said it, he wins titles everywhere he goes and he wants to get trophies every season. So I'm holding to that standard. And then we have to get top 4. We need to be back in the Champions League. I wouldn't mind if it's 5th and he wins the Europa, guys, because then, he still gets that Champions League. I think that's the most important thing for us. But points on the board, amassing a certain amount of points, scoring a certain amount of goals, maybe conceding a certain amount of goals as well is very important. That's the metrics that kind of shows us, okay, we've established something, we've built something with this system, and we're able to go to the next level. My question would be, though, is what is the game model? I don't know what the game model is, and I don't even really know what our shape is. It's the 3-1-6 world is gone now. That whole world is completely gone. So are we the 4-2-4 team that plays on the halfway line? And then depending on the opposition, we drop it further back or we drop it further forward. I don't know what the game model is. I'm waiting for the next 10 games of the season to play out for me to really, get a proper feel of what we're doing.
Can I just say, by the way, Crash Illustration with the super chat has gone through. Appreciate the contribution from Crash Illustration. It said, big ups to Owen, older man. Which is, I think he means Rich.
Yeah, probably.
Minna, random guy, can't remember the name. Steph and the GOAT, the undisputed, the tactical maestro, Marcel. Well, there you go. Thank you. Maybe we should wear name badges on the show. Appreciate the contribution, Crash Illustration. Rich, how are you feeling ahead of the new season? Can you answer Marcel's question there about what the game model is? What kind of Man United do you think we're going to see this year?
I think, hello everyone, obviously, welcome, back to
we're back to work essentially, right? Straight back in.
Yes.
No real break because United are back, and we're about to let them, affect our moods for the next 9 months, whatever it is, right? But I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm optimistic. I'm too optimistic for what we've been shown over the last, few years. Well, I think in terms of what Marcel's talking about there about the game model, I think we can see that there's more of a plan anyway around the team this year. There's more of a plan in terms of the backroom staff, in terms of the coaches staff, in terms of the players that they're bringing in as well. So even if we can't see anything right now, I'm hoping that in the first 1, 2, 3 games, we'll be able to say, actually, you know what, this is what we're looking towards. This is the formation we're trying to play it. Because if you remember in Ten Hag's first season, the first 2 games, we saw what he was trying to do. It didn't work. And then in the third game, he decided to change it to, kind of sit back and, hit on the break a little bit. And then last season, it was just a mess. There's no question about it. It was just a complete mess. We were really open in the middle. And it's kind of looking like we still have that issue in the middle of the park. And hopefully, with the last few weeks of the window, last few days of the window coming up, we can address the midfield issues. But I think, again, to go back to my first point, there must be more of a plan. Like the kind of the views that we're seeing from the backroom staff, the kind of the plans that that Enos are bringing people in and things like this, it just gives me a bit more confidence to know that they must have a plan for this team and for the players that they're bringing in. Now, I'm very, again, to touch on what Marcel said about the training videos. The training videos are gassing me slightly. I'm looking at the in the training video. I'm looking at Mazraoui in the training videos, and I'm like, yes, okay, I'm ready for this season to start. I'm a bit skeptical. I'm a bit, nervous about Fulham. We kind of talked about it off camera before we started about how certain of the teams, these lower level teams may have had better preseasons than us because they wouldn't have had as many players missing. They would have been able to work through, the various games that they had without worrying about, this so-and-so is coming into this team now. Looking at Fulham specifically, I saw that their last 2 preseason games, Emil Smith-Rowe scored, right, in the last 2 games. He's building a bit of confidence, so they will have a bit of confidence. So we can't just only look at United and think, we will steamroller this team. There's another football team that also got goals and they also want to win the game. But I'm still confident. I'm still hoping that we'll be able to, start strong because ultimately, like Marcel said, we need to get points on the board early. Obviously, I don't think anyone here realistically expects us to challenge for the title, right? Realistically, I think the best we can probably hope for, the best we can probably hope for is 4th, right? Or top 4, let's say. Let's say Liverpool and I don't know, Chelsea, Spurs don't really do what, maybe Villa don't do what we expect them to. Maybe we could sneak 3rd, but I'm cautiously hoping for 4th. I want a trophy. I don't care any which way we do it. We need to win a trophy, and my trophy as well is that Europa League. I want to get that Europa League in the bag. So yeah, overall, I'm kind of optimistic, but I'm always optimistic. So I don't think that goes anywhere. To be honest, that counts for anything.
Well, we'll see what happens. 24 hours. I saw someone put on Twitter, and it's true. Enjoy today because now we're going to have months of our lives being determined and our mood being determined by 11 players on the pitch, a Dutch man in the dugout. It's going to make us feel a certain way over the next few months. So enjoy it while you can. Kenny, you're going to be at the game.
Did you see the video of that, by the way? They were like on a balcony, resting, looking into the distance.
Oh, yeah. That's what football does to you. Kenny, you're going to be at the game tomorrow. How are you feeling? You feeling optimistic? Is it just the beginning of the season, or have you seen stuff that you like in the Community Shield game and in pre-season? How are you feeling?
I'm very, very positive because you've got to look back at last season. Exclude the FA Cup final, but we broke every record, the wrong record last year. More shots, least goals scored, worst points accumulated. So our baseline for this season is very low. It's very low, our baseline. So it can't get any worse, can it? Because if it gets any worse than that, then we'll be looking for a new manager in November. So I think the expectation levels from ourselves as United fans has got to be good. It's got to be good because there's not a lot of negativity around the Ineos model at the moment. They've come in, they've put the structure in place around Ten Hag, which we've always wanted. They've put us, they're building hopes up with regards to new stadia. They're in touch with they're in touch with the Prime Minister and top officials because they want to build the stadium and this, that, and the other. So the building blocks are there. So from a confidence point of view, I'm starting at a very, very high level. I'll be honest, because I'm happy with the 4 signings that we've made already. I think we're going to get Ugarte, and if we can get Rabiot as well, then that would be fantastic. Honestly, I think it will be fantastic. So I'm looking at, patterns of play. Okay, so I will make an assumption tomorrow that the 2 new players start at the back, along with Martinez and Delors. And I think what he'll do as well is I don't think he'll be playing false 9s. I think he'll put Rashford at 9 tomorrow. He cannot drop Garnacho or Ahmed. Cannot drop them because there are 2 currently our best form players. So the way I'm seeing it is tomorrow is you're going to see the patterns of play that he wants to play. So if he's got the Mazraoui at the back, he's got Martinez and he's got Dalot, then you ain't going to get, that's the best back 4 he's going to have. That's all season. All right, he'll bring you young Euro and all whatever. So I think tomorrow it's probably going to be his strongest team available. Could be out tomorrow. So what I'm not expecting, I am not expecting us to be defending our back line. I'm expecting us to be defending from the halfway line. I've got to be honest, because he's got the speed in the team. He's got the legs. He's got the youth. So what I'm really expecting tomorrow, I'm expecting to see the new Ten Hag football, what we all expected years ago. And why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we be expecting that? Because he's got great talent in Garnacho and Ahmad. Rashford, we know what he's capable of. He's not produced it last season, but season before. So I think you'll see Rashford as a number 9 tomorrow. I do. I think because that will be how he wants to play. Now, when Højlund is fit or whatever, Højlund will replace Rashford at number 9. And then if Rashford's still on form, then it's between him, Garnacho and Ahmad for who are the form 2 out the 3. And they'll start as the wingers. But I think the key for me from tomorrow is I don't think you're going to see Maguire. I think you'll see Maguire if he has to play him. And I think what you'll find is that once Euro gets fit, I think you could see the likes of Maguire and Lindelof going in probably in January because they'll realise they're not wanted for the future. And now he's got in place. He's got in place what he wanted in place. And that's his players. Them are the players. He cannot turn around now and say, oh, I've not got this in place or whatever. And we've got to a stage as well. Let's look at the opposition this year. If you look at Man City, Rodri ain't going to be starting, right? They've sold Alvarez. They've not, young Oscar Bob, who I thought was brilliant. Apparently he's going to be out for 2 or 3 months because he's had a bone fracture or whatever in his leg. So City are starting from a lower point, I think. They're not starting from up there because they've lost a few players and they've lost good players. We know that Liverpool, which is one of our biggest rivals, have not signed anybody yet. Nobody, it would appear that the top players are not coming to Liverpool. They've got a new manager. So Arsenal, I think, they'll be the biggest challengers, Arsenal. So we've got to make top 4. I think top 4 is nailed on. It's got to be. Because if you can't make top 4 this year, with them new signings, right, with the way that City have not built and Liverpool have definitely not built, then I think that, like you said, we've got bigger problems than what we've got, I think, as a football club. Because everything that we've been asked, or what we've asked of Vinny so far, we're kind of being given. And it's only a short window. You're looking at a 6-month window. You're only looking at a 6-month window. And I do think if we can get Ugarte, and it's obvious that Ugarte wants to come, it's obvious we want to take Sancho away, probably McTominay as well. And it's what we've been asking for as fans for 2 seasons. But, I think slowly but surely we're going to get what we've been asking for. And we're now in a position where, starting tomorrow, I think you'll see you'll see a different Man United tomorrow from this season. I do, honestly.
I hope so. I hope that is the case. A couple of super chats here. CeeLo's been on for 25 months. Says, good to see Steph and Rich back on the panel. Big up the rest of the Mandem. It's always nice when I say that, isn't it? And UV community. James in the super chat says, positive. Our midfield still has no creativity. And also says that he doesn't like Rashford and wishes that he could sell him. We'll talk about Rashford and finishing in a bit because Ten Hag did talk about that actually in the press conference too. Minna, how are you feeling heading into the new season? Do you echo the positivity? Are you still a bit like, still need a bit more in the transfer window to get to that level of positivity? How are you feeling?
Firstly, guys, smash the like button first and foremost, because Owen has been working hard during preseason and the transfer window while Flex and KG have been out and jet setting and they were getting tans in LA, and Owen was locked in his dungeon. So make sure you lot smash the like button.
Willingly, by the way.
Locked in his dungeon, you know.
Yeah.
Willingly, first and foremost. Yeah. Secondly, I do echo bits of what everybody has said thus far. I think I'm still a bit skeptical because I think it does take a bit of time for things to gel, which is why I was on KG's channel yesterday and he was basically bullying me to say that United is going to finish second. And I said, I think United could finish top four. I think they could finish third. But I said second is where I kind of draw the line, because I think we have to accept that it's not going to gel immediately. That's not what's going to happen. I think there's already right now questions about who's going to start on the right back, who's going to start at left back. I'm seeing discourse about the fact that, Marcel was just saying, what is the style of play? What's going to be the philosophy? I think it's going to be a 4-2-4 out of possession. I think tomorrow we will see that. I think Bruno and whoever plays up top, we might even see Mount and Bruno for false nine. We might see that again and have Garnacho or Ahmad as an impact sub. But I think in possession, out of possession, we've seen that shape. We've seen the two men up top pressing, which I think will be Bruno's role. Even when Xerxes comes in, I think Bruno is going to be that supporting press. And I think out of possession is going to be a 3-2-5 with the two wingers and then two people pushing up from midfield alongside Bruno and the striker. And I saw it at the Community Shield when Lisandro was at left back. He was coming into midfield to form a 2 with Casemiro, and Dallo was shifting in a little bit into the back line, and they were alternating throughout the game. So obviously I can anticipate that happening. Now, where do I stand in terms of what I expect this season? One, I expect a philosophy, a style of football, what everybody has been screaming about. United will win games, they'll lose games. Inevitably, that will probably happen. I'm not expecting a 38-game winning streak throughout the entire season, but I'm expecting to see a much better performance than last season. That's my expectation. My other expectation is for Manchester United not only to put points on the board, but to put points on the board against the opponents, like the top 6, the top 7. I want us to go to the Emirates and have a good performance. I don't want us to be worried about going against Arne Slot and at Anfield, given the fact that Liverpool haven't even added resurgence or much. I don't want to go to Stamford Bridge, and even at the fact that Chelsea have 455,221 players and then the 40,000 fans, we shouldn't be worried about that. I want us to be able to just have better performances. That's it. And of course, silverware comes with it. I think Erik Ten Hag has shown in cups what he can do. He did it in the Carabao Cup. He did it in the FA Cup. He needs to do it in Europa League, given that first Europa League experience that we had crashing out against Sevilla. But I'm just hoping that everything meshes together. And like I said, it's going to take time. Now, you lot spoke about Rashford. I don't know if you saw the article on Sky Sports about Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Oh, I did see this.
Yeah. So just for some context, guys, there's an article on Sky Sports about Ruud van Nistelrooy's impact at Manchester United, and it quickly touched on Steve McLaren and something that happened reportedly between Rashford and Steve McLaren in a training session where they were doing a 5-on-5 drill, and McLaren reportedly said to Rashford, I expect you to score the winning goal in the drill. And Rashford made a complaint saying he doesn't like that he's being, pressure's being put on him. And McLaren was a bit shocked because of the strikers that he's worked with. He was at United when York and Cole and them were there. So he was like, it wasn't pressure. It was more so to like bolster him and push him a little bit, encourage him. And I saw that and I was like, this is someone that's low on confidence, though. That is someone who's low on confidence, that is scared to have pressure on his shoulders. Whereas you're looking at, players that were for England in the Euros. Pressure? What pressure? They stepped up and took penalties. I guarantee you, if Rashford, by the way, was there for England, he probably wouldn't have taken a penalty. But it's just that pressure that I think he's shying away from, which he knows inevitably he is kind of one of the faces of Manchester United this season. He's kind of like the poster child, but that kind of stuff doesn't sit well with me. And I'm someone who gets accused of standing Rashford nonstop, guys. I get accused all the time, but I've actually said it. I'm going to go on and counter what I've just said about the article and say Rashford's scoring 25 goals in all competitions this season.
25 all comps. I mean, I saw that story too, and I was like, that's a mad story. And for Sky to print that, by the way, as well, is mad, because they don't really go down that kind of route with that kind of stuff. That is a mad story. Steph, how are you feeling about the upcoming season? 4 players through the door, still hopefully some more to come. Pre-season, that was some good performances, maybe not some great results. How are you feeling ahead of the new campaign?
I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. Which I think that's a bit of a boring opening statement to say, because that's how I feel at the beginning of most seasons. Probably more optimistic than I have done in years. And I'm echoing a lot of what Mina said. Well, all of your comments, actually, taking on board what you've all said. I am expecting a lot as a Ten Hag fan. I am expecting a lot from him this season. However, Kenny, what you were saying, or you expect to see in this game against Fulham, you expect to see the team gel. I mean, I think that's a bit of a stretch to expect our team to gel after a couple of training sessions, when Mazraoui and De Ligt have only been there for less than a week. And they've had 2 training sessions with the rest of the team and 1 individual one. However, saying that, the caliber of the players that we've brought in that reportedly or supposedly suit Ten Hag's style of play, who have played for Ten Hag in the past, I am expecting big things. Top 4 is a must. I'd definitely like us to win a cup, preferably the Europa League over the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, because we've obviously got those under our belt more recently. But going back to what Mina said, I want to see us performing away from home against the top of the table, because our stats for that last season were just diabolical. It was embarrassing. We can't call ourselves one of the big 6 or one of the top teams if we're running scared like pansies every time we play away from home. So I want us to play progressive, proactive football away from home this season.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I mean, I think it's a strange one, isn't it? Because you have to balance up just the beginning in general of a new season. There's always that sort of optimism, isn't there? Regardless of how things are going, because you do get that kind of the eve, or even tomorrow in the build up to the day or the game, you're like, oh, I'm excited now, football's back. But I'm feeling quite positive about the business that Ineos have done this summer incomings. I think actually, as much as they've been criticised for outgoings, I think they've actually done a pretty good job when it comes to the outgoings, because it's not easy. Basically, it is not easy to sell players at Manchester United, and I think that they've done deals that previous regimes wouldn't have been able to do. So, with that Wan-Bissaka deal, when it came to exit terms and a payoff, I think previously they'd just gone, no, I can't do that. Let's not do it. We can't, it's falling apart. But they were so desperate to bring other players in and realize how difficult it is to get some of these players to go. I mean, there was a thing from Dharmesh from Sky saying that, they were expecting offers for Christian Eriksen, and Christian Eriksen, he's on 150k a week, and you realize he's got a year left of his contract. He's not going to get that really anywhere else, is he? And if he were to go, he'd probably be like, well, I'm owed this amount of money, what's left on my contract. Can you figure that one out, guys? And so every transfer or every exit's a bit of an issue. So I think given the circumstances, I think they've done quite well there. Still more to go, and I do think more will go, and still more to come in, which I think will come in. But I do kind of agree with what Kenny was saying about tomorrow in terms of an expectation of maybe a bit of a different style of play, because I think we've already kind of seen it in pre-season. I think we saw it definitely against Man City. I was really concerned after the first 30 minutes in that game, because it looked like last season all over again. City were all over us, and we were just kind of on the back foot. We couldn't string any passes together, and I thought, oh, here we go again. But then we started to play some really good stuff, and if we were more clinical, if Rashford could put the ball in the back of the net, if that situation with Ahmad and Mason Mount, does he take the shot? Does Mount realize it's going to be squared? We could have and should have scored at least 3 or 4 that day. And that was the same against Liverpool too in pre-season, where it was we could have scored at least 3 or 4. We created so many chances. So, and that was a different style of football than we saw last season. And that was significantly less shots conceded than last season. But granted, they are just friendlies. So the real test is tomorrow. Fulham is a team that we played at home last season, and they deservedly beat us. I know they scored in like the last minute, but they deservedly beat us. They were by far the better team on that day. So I am expecting a bit better from United tomorrow. And I do think, to Kenny's point, with the defenders that we do have available, granted, there are still some injury concerns, which we'll get to in just a second. But I would think that if you've got, let's say it's Martinez and De Ligt, there's no reason you can't play a high line with those two centre-backs. You're looking at your full-backs, probably going to be Dallo on the left, Mazraoui on the right. There's no reason they can't be fully inverted and comfortable in midfield and comfortable on the ball. So I would hope to see that. Now, that's not the complete team, obviously, because then you're looking at, once again, midfield. That's why we're going for Agate. That's maybe why we're going for another midfielder on top of that, because that's still work that needs to be done there. But I do think there is room for optimism. As far as where we're going to finish this season, I don't see any reason why Man United can't compete for the top four. Did it 2 years ago with and last season got decimated by injury. So just by somewhat logic, which doesn't usually work, but somewhat logic, you would think if they cut the injuries down a bit, that team should be competing. Even last season, really, as shit as we were, it was only really towards the latter end of the season we really threw top four away. We were given so many chances to get back in it. And you would just hope this year there's just more opportunities to take those chances, or we will take those chances more often. So I think top four. And when it comes to the Europa League, the format's completely changed. No teams from the Champions League drop down anymore. So the teams that are in it are the teams that are in it till the end. You look at the lineup, you probably say United are the best team in that competition. So they should near enough go all the way. Rich, you were saying?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, because speaking of taking chances, what does everybody, it's a question to the panel, I guess, right? What are we expecting from Mount this year? Because I saw earlier as well that they put on the United Instagram or something that he was one of the top performances in the preseason. Now, I watched every preseason game, right? And I agree with, Ahmad being the top performer. Casemiro, a few games, he played well. Rashford even had a couple good games. And Onana maybe as well. But Mount only really, for me, had one good game, right? And otherwise, he was busy. But then we're talking about the midfield. We're talking about, having all these players coming off the wings, pressing in midfield, all this kind of stuff. And Mount's strengths are pressing and running around, legs, whatever you want to call it. What are we expecting from him this season? Because he needs to have a big season. Obviously, I'm not gonna criticize him for last season because he was injured, right? You can't really judge him on last season. But this season, he does need to have a big season, and I'm trying to work out where he's going to fit in this team. And I can't lie, I'm not really seeing it as well as I am for other people, because as many people know, I am probably Bruno's biggest fan, right? I love Bruno Fernandes, best player in the world as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, but
in the world,
in the world.
We're living on two different planets.
In the world. I'm living on a different
world?
Planet, in this world. However, Mason Mount was meant to be the backup or whatever, or play on the right, whatever. Where is he going to play? People are saying that we can have, Mount false 9, Bruno false 9, the other one behind, as we had against Man City. Mount wasn't really giving me anything in that game, and I went to watch it as well. I was at the game, so I don't know what do people think.
Can I say about Mount? I was about to say just quickly on Mount. You guys all owe Fred an apology, because how you praising Mason Mount for running, and when I was praising Fred for running, I got butchered on this channel. Nobody
should be praising anybody for running and working hard. That's just that should be a given.
Just doing your job.
Yeah, exactly. That should be a given at Manchester United. But I was kind of half laughing at what Mina was saying, and I was laughing at a comment from Cowboy. I think he put where is it? Mount has next season to prove he isn't Donny van der Beek, which I know, but the thing is, it's harsh and it's blunt. But it's kind of right, because we bought him for 55 mil. He basically didn't play most of last season. So that was, in my mind, like 55 million down the drain that we could have not had him last season, and we would have been in the same situation. He was ineffective, and didn't really perform when he came on. Rich, in response to your comment, you made a lot of good, positive comments about how certain players have been playing in pre-season, but I pay no heed. None. Zero heed to preseason. So if you say Mount played good in one game, I mean, I watched all the games as well, but if you say Mount, and he did play good, it doesn't. It bears no weight for me personally. On
he did last year, didn't he? Then he didn't play the whole season. Pretty much.
This is what I'm saying, and it goes. And I hate to say this, I'm going to get shot down, but Ahmad, oh my god, amazing in pre-season. But in my mind, I'm just like low key. I'm like, it's great that he played well in pre-season, but going back to what we were talking about with Ten Hag's selection headache, I don't necessarily think he's even going to start. Honestly, and I think that's going to be. Honestly, I don't.
Well,
mate.
If we go back to last season, right, we all screamed that Ahmad should be starting. We all screamed it, but he would not drop Rashford. And Rashford, we all know, should have been dropped. But I think we've got to a stage now with Ineos or whatever, where, and the fans, tomorrow night, if Rashford starts and Ahmad doesn't start, right? I think you'll hear it straight from the. I think you'll hear it from the crowd at the beginning. I do. I think because there's so much adulation amongst the fans for Garnacho and Ahmad that they've got to start. They've got to start. And I do think Rashford also has to start from the point of view that if we're going to have a good season, then we need Marcus Rashford scoring 25 goals. You need it. Because last year he had an awful season. We scored 50 odd goals in the competition alone. So I'll link it to Mason Mount. I don't see Mount as a starter. Because I don't see us playing with two false nines. I just don't see it. Because I think if you play with two false nines, then where does Garnacho, where does Rashford, where do you fit Ahmad in? They're the players you've got to get in. They're the players you've got to get into your system, not Mason Mount. Mason Mount cannot influence that team to the level that Bruno Fernandes can. But I also know that likes of Rashford can. I know that Ahmad's capable, and I know that Garnacho's capable. Why? Because they're proving it. They have all proven it over 2 seasons. Now, Mason Mount hasn't had the opportunity to prove it, but I don't think we can risk giving him that opportunity to prove himself. I think what you may see with Mason Mount is that hopefully that as you get into a game and you get more comfortable, then Mason Mount comes off the bench. Mason Mount is the new McTominay that's coming off the bench. Eriksen used to play 60 minutes, and at 60 minutes, somebody always came on for him. Well, I'm hoping that, it might be Casemiro now. Casemiro might be getting the first 60 minutes and Mason Mount comes in or someone else. I don't see Mason Mount as a starter. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
When it comes to tomorrow, by the way, and this is to you, Marcel, we're talking about, Rashford starting and getting the goals. Is it impossible that Joshua Zirkzee starts tomorrow? I mean, he's described himself as a false striker, which definitely won't come back to bite him this season, by the way. But by that proxy, basically meaning he plays as almost like, he plays as a 9, but it's a bit like the Roberto Firmino situation back in the day where it's pressing, dropping deep, linking up play. Is there any possibility he could play tomorrow? And that's how you go back to like a 4-2-3-1 and you get the wingers involved, like Kenny's sort of mentioning?
Interesting. I mean, Ten Hag has got a selection headache, and that's always a good thing. I think we need to get into the mind frame now that it's a squad game. So he needs 22 excellent footballers, and he needs 2 excellent sets of footballers in each position. So we need to get into that mind frame now. We saw a couple of seasons ago plenty of football matches to play in a football season, 50 plus games at times. So we need excellent players everywhere across the pitch and excellent players to come onto the pitch hungry to play. So if Zirkzee does play, it's more of a thing of, is he going to be 100% match fit? Is he going to be in 100% match sharpness within the system? Who knows? And that's why maybe you start Rashford. Funny enough, last season Rashford started up front, So, we could maybe see that, and that's how you get your Ahmad and your Garnacho in, and the Old Trafford faithful are a bit more happy with that start. But let's see what happens. The front line, I don't think is going to be the issue. I think there's going to be plenty of goals this season. I genuinely believe Rashford. I'm agreeing with Minna. I don't know if you actually said it, Minna, that Rashford's going to hit 25 this season. But if you are saying that, Minna, 100% agree with you. Zirkzee, I think will get 10 plus. I think Garnacho should get 10 plus. Ahmad should get 10 plus 10 assists as well. And Bruno should chip in with double figures goals and assists as well. So,
win the league. Win the
No,
league.
I don't know about
That
win the
only gives
league. I
us
don't know about the
60
win the
goals.
league. I don't know about
That
the
only
league.
gives us
You
60
also
goals.
said that you're Bruno's biggest fan, Ben.
I know I am.
Best,
I am.
best
I'm
player in
big-
the world. Best player in the world.
Not
by the
even
way.
good.
Well, I don't
on.
even want to go that far, Owen. But I'm Bruno's biggest fan.
All right, we'll fight out another day. We'll fight out.
I've been screaming Bruno for the longest amount of time as the number one.
Same, I can't lie.
But so and just on Mount though, just to answer your question about Mount though, Rich, like I think similar to what to what everyone's kind of saying, he's going to be coming off the bench. I think he's going to be a floor raiser. For the quality of player in our squad, the ilk of player in our squad has to go up another level. Unfortunately, the McTominays have not shown that they're cutting it. Yes, they contributed with goals when Ten Hag found a very specific role for him. The box crushing role, last 20-30 minutes of the game, or simply just finding spaces in the box once the crosses are coming in for the set pieces. He found a very tailored role that he has to follow to by the book. And then obviously your ball regains and working, getting into the defensive shape when we need you. But I think Mason Mount can do that. We're talking about, I like to think of positives. Mason Mount had a really good positive, I think 60-70 minutes against Spurs last season away from home when we played the 4-2-3-1, funny enough, Owen. He played well there in a double pivot 6. So I think he can play multiple positions in the midfield, the 8 and the 10. And I think he can play both left midfield or right midfield. He's very good at turnovers, so he's very good at winning the ball that's in front of him and pressing and closing down the angles against the opposition. So we're going to expect loads of that from him. And we want to see him score more from headers, particularly. He's had a couple of those chances last season, wasn't brilliant from those kind of things. And assists, he needs to be more creative than Bruno, which is a very hard task. But if you're able to learn from him and learn the system that Ten Hag's given you, hopefully you get more games throughout the season. But that number 7 shirt's too big for him, and I think Garnacho maybe should have taken it.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, it just that one does reflect just, doesn't it, that whole number 7. I remember at the time when that got announced, I actually could not believe that was that was the case. Not that it's like, oh, it has to be a win, because it doesn't. I mean, Brian Robson, obviously, but like it's more just the case of just like, I'm not sure about that one. A couple of super chats here. James says, permanent red card for Rich, please. I'm not sure what that was in reference. It might have been the Bruno best in the world.
Bruno's probably the Bruno thing, yeah.
And also, James says, Rashford 25 goals. Ha 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 ha. But we'll see.
Is he laughing because he thinks he'll get 30 goals then?
Exactly. It's way too low. It's way too low. I do want to talk about something else. Maybe it's not the most positive thing to talk about, but I think we have to have a conversation about Luke Shaw. Because, of course, Manchester United released a statement a couple of days ago. You notice they put that statement just before the announcements of the 2 signings to kind of soften the blow about that one. That Luke Shaw is going to be out for the start of the season, picked up a calf injury at the beginning of pre-season. Of course, it comes after missing a huge chunk towards the end of last season. It got selected for the Euros, missed the majority of it, played in the semi-final and the final. Now it means we're in the market once again of another left back. Ten Hag did speak about him today, saying that he's not going to be out long term, and he's expecting him to come back. And Luke Shaw's a really important player. Mina, I'll start with you. Where do you sit when it comes to the Luke Shaw situation, his future, what that looks like at Manchester United, what we need to do in terms of the market as well?
You know what? I'm always in 2 minds about Luke Shaw, because on his day, he's a great left back. But I was butchered for talking about Pogba and saying on his day. So I have to be consistent. I have to be consistent with the criticism. I think Luke Shaw's early in his career at United, he was unfortunate with some injuries. And since then, I think, I'm not going to lie, I think now his priorities are all over the place, because how do you sit out for predominantly about 4 months of the remainder of the season just to go to England, not be fit, and then reportedly take injections to get fit? And that now has hindered your club situation. That has now caused the issue. All of that for what? You didn't even bring home the Euros trophy. You didn't even bring. You just brought, you got another runners-up medal. And I have, again, on the England thing, I got my opinion because I think he took up a spot that other players should have got. But for me, that also just shows your commitment is not 100%, because if you were injured, Harry Maguire pulled out of the England squad with his injury. They said that Southgate reportedly didn't want to take him, but he was big enough to be like, you know what, I'm not fit enough to go, so why am I going to waste time? And he's still not fit, but that's not the point. With Luke Shaw, I think
Available
3 years.
Tomorrow.
He could be available for tomorrow, and that's true. Luke Shaw, 3 years left on his contract. You just have to look at it and be like, what can United do in the next year and a half to get him out of the club? What can they do? A, help him rehabilitate to get fit. ensure he stays fit, and then sell him. That is literally the only thing they can do. And it's funny because he always gets injured in and around the approaching deadline of the transfer window. He doesn't want to leave, so he gets injured. Yeah, I'm in two minds about Luke Shaw, but yeah, but one thing I know for sure is he's been a good servant. 10 seasons, nearly 10 seasons with Manchester United. But I'm sorry, but I was saying this yesterday. You look at players who have stayed at Manchester United for 10 years or more. Look at what they've done at the club and the legendary status that they have. Why are we allowing players to stay for more than 10 years and still be mediocre? Have a mediocre... Wait, Luke Shaw's going to leave Manchester United. And when I talk about the best left-backs at Man United, I'm still going to be talking about Patrice Evra. And that was before Luke Shaw. So that says
Dennis
a lot.
Owen.
Dennis, I'm going to be talking about people from how many years ago. I ain't going to talk about recency. I'm not going to talk about that. So it's very, it's unfortunate. I do sympathize with him with the injuries because I can imagine, your body not doing what you want it to do can take a toll on you mentally. But Ineos have to look at this and be like, listen, he needs to hit the road. And
how much longer does he have left on his contract, one, and how much is he getting paid? Because I think that's going to be the difficult side of things. I've been saying it since last season, guys. Why not play him left centre back?
You're saying it's difficult to sell players,
Marcel.
It doesn't matter where you play him. It don't matter where you play him.
Marcel, it doesn't matter if you play. I've heard this argument about we play him at left centre back as opposed to left back. It's not going to make a difference. The guy's a biscuit. I'm sorry, but the guy is a biscuit, and he's stealing a wage. He's stealing a wage. He was, like Mina said, 4 months. So February, March, April, towards the end of last season. Can you just, when you break that down in his wages, that's what he was paid. And then he chose to go away with England after being paid for rehabilitation for 4 months. And we're in the same, we're starting this season again, and it's the same situation. I'm sorry, but I do not like people who steal a living or people who steal a wage. It's disgraceful.
No, I hear that. Okay, so then just on what you're saying, Owen, just what you were saying. Yeah. So I was going to go on to ask before, can we blame Ineos a little bit for the fact that they're not being more clinical or harsh on the way that we sell footballers? So
I have a question to ask you, because
supplement
with Trevor Chalobah,
some of the wage.
Should United do what they do to people at
that's
Chelsea,
what I was going to say.
Do you think, Marcel?
No, when even look at the Jadon Sancho situation last season when he was exiled, you saw how divisive that was, not only in the fan base, but also in terms of the dressing room. Man United have such a fractured dressing room all the time anyway, that I think that the last thing they would want to do is, again, push, like to Minna's point, push someone aside and be like, ruffle the feathers. And I get it that it's a business and blah, blah, blah. But these footballers, they can be very precious. And also, what if there aren't any takers? Then what do? Do the Sancho again, reintegrate him back into the side. And then it's like, see, you were wrong. He was right. He held you out. It's almost just not worth it.
No, that's not what I'm saying. And I would like to understand what the Nathan Chalobah situation is. But let me just finish articulate what I'm saying. Sancho is worth X amount of money. Let's say 300k. Why doesn't Manchester United lower the wage for 20 million and supplement 50k of the wages? The necessity is having the free space in the 25-man squad because X player cannot play the system. Just a prime example is Maguire. Why don't you supplement some of his wages, lessen the transfer fee?
They tried that though with Maguire, haven't they? They tried.
Yeah, last
I don't think they have. I don't think they have.
Tomlin as well.
I don't think they have.
It's with Wan-Bissaka.
Kenny.
It's with Wan-Bissaka. Oh, they will have. You don't have to worry, because you've now got a situation where, if you look at the number of centre backs we're going to have now. Look at the number of centre backs we're going to have when they're all fit. Maguire and Lindelof will end up playing the Sunday League for Sunday. You know what I mean? A pub team or whatever, because they ain't going to play at Old Trafford. If everybody's fit, they're not playing. They're not even. But going, and but I think what we're missing in a little bit is that. Right, Luke Shaw, 10 years, he's played, his availability has been 50% of the time in that 10 years. So he's missed half the games. That's a fact. So he's missed half the games availability. I think he's averaged something like 28, 29 games a season over 10 years. Now, I know he had a leg break and that too can make for a lot longer than that. But what we're seeing now with football and footballers, and we see that Manchester United, is it's been touched on already. You need 2 good quality players for each position. Yeah. And that's not just about having quality players to go in. That's also having cover. That's about having cover as well. Because more and more our football clubs are expecting more and more from our footballers. Manchester United would have its footballers playing 3 times a week if it could. And for a big part of the season, if you're successful, you're playing 60 games a season. And it's being proven it's physically not capable to do it. You then go into the Euros, or you're flying across the other half, other parts of the world. You're coming back, you're having 2 weeks with your family on holiday. And then the next thing, you're back in training. And by the way, tomorrow you start your new season. So the expectation and the levels what clubs are expecting is taking a toll. And it's not just Manchester United. It was Newcastle last year. It was Brighton. It was Liverpool the year before. And it goes on and it goes on. So as regards to Luke Shaw, my expectation now for Luke Shaw is how he's managed. So if we've now got the 3 or 4 new players in at the back, right? But let's make sure that Luke Shaw and De Ligt's similar. Mazraoui he's coming with a poor record. Mazraoui's coming with a poor record with regards to his fitness level. But if you manage that and we don't flog them to death, so that when we play in the Carabao Cup and we're playing whoever at home or whatever, we're not seeing them players. You've got to use that squad better. And we've got to rotate them and rest them, because we can all, it doesn't matter if you earn £5 a week or £300,000 a week. You can only run for so much and your body will only take so much. But if we are flogging them, then, we're as much to blame. I'm not saying we're as much to blame for Shaw, because that was poor judgment on his behalf to do what he did. And also, why did the bloody club let him do it? What have they going? Was he going his contract? Why have they allowed down
Fergie back in the day would have not have stood for that.
No
at all.
chance.
I think to defend Shaw in the international settings, I completely agree with a lot of what's been said, right? Because ultimately, the best ability is availability, like people say. Because we used to complain about Martial, we used to complain about other players that are always injured.
Exactly.
But to defend him in terms of an international thing, like you've heard of, I don't know who it was. I think it was Iwobi and the Nigerian players. Anyway, I can't remember who it was now that said it. And they were like in the AFCON final, one of them was injured, but they just Aina, wasn't it? Yeah, and he said they said they were injured, but they wanted to play, so they just put themselves forward to play, because obviously as a footballer, to play for your country in a major tournament is once it's not often, is it? So obviously that's
not the same though. But I don't think that's the same, because that's an AFCON final. You're already there at the competition. There was a good chance. There was a good chance that England were going to get to the final, and we did in the end. No, right? But he wasn't even fit when they reported for camp, when it was a 33-man camp. He wasn't even fit. He wasn't even taking part in the training sessions. Yeah. So he knew he wasn't fit. They even knew. Eric Ten Hag, I think, said it in a pre-season press conference when he said, "Oh yeah, Luke Shaw will be available for England probably in the round of 16 or the quarterfinals." That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Even Sir Jim was joking about it. And did you see that? Please don't pull your hamstring. And it's like, oh, jokey joke. But then you sort of take a step back and go, the fact that we're joking about that is actually kind of mad. Like this billionaire's going, don't pull your hamstring, mate.
Well, my thing is, how are we going to be able to sell him? Who's going to want to buy him?
Not right now.
This is it.
And then even next season. So then my thing is, if that's the reality, let's find a position where there's less workload on the body, left centre back. Then sell. Then you've got 4 left. Then you've got 4 centre backs. You've got Martinez, Luke Shaw at left side of centre back, 2 players, and then you've got De Ligt and Euro, 2 centre backs. Sell Maguire and Lindelof and get me a brand new world class left back.
You're all going to defend him now, I know, but Martinez has been at the club how long? 18 months, right? What's his playing record?
Yeah,
I mean, Kenny is never going to let it go. He's never going to let it go.
You love Ligt. We all love him. He's brilliant. Yeah. Let's look at it in cold hard facts. He's got the same injury, a similar playing record as Luke Shaw and whoever. So it's not just about Luke Shaw. It's about that back four. It's about all of them.
Does he go, Kenny? Yeah, he missed a bad season through injury. I don't know if that's was missing over a decade.
And also, I feel I understand, Kenny. I actually understand your point. I think
so. Rotating with Shaw.
What's the opposite of recency bias? Like what you guys were saying. He's only been at the club for less than 2 seasons, so I think people would have a tendency to be more forgiving in that sense. I think the reason why people are so annoyed and angry at Luke Shaw is because he himself knows, and we all know, that he is an injury-prone player. We saw how horrific his injury was early on in his career, and he needs to be managed differently. He is special. Like, he needs to, be wrapped up in cotton wool. And I think that the difference between Shaw and Leacher, when he went to go away and play for his club, his country, is that he knew his body. Like, he managed his body like correctly. Like, I feel like Luke Shaw was just like, I don't care. I know I'm not fit. I know I'm not fit, but I want to get into the England squad, and I'm going to take injections. Surely the fact that he had to take injections, he knew that he wasn't up to speed, and he was basically putting pressure on his body. He's a grown man. He should be more responsible. I get that they're footballers and they enjoy playing football and that's what they want to do. But if it's to the detriment of your club, no, that's selfish.
Can I just say also, there was a time when people would go to war for Manchester United. Gary Neville, Rio Ferdinand, they were so toxic when they were at the England squad because they loved Manchester United so much. And that's why that era of English football, the national team didn't really succeed, because the Man United guys stuck together, the Arsenal guys stuck together, etc., etc. And now we've got players picking country over club, which obviously is easy for me to say because I'm not a footballer. I don't know what it feels like to represent your national team. But I think it's also harsh to compare 10 years to 2 seasons, because let's be real, Lisandro Martinez.
No, I'm applying the principle.
The principle, I understand that.
Right. So when did he break his leg, Shaw? That was probably in his second or third year.
2015, I think it was, 2015.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So he's always had that in him. But the point I'm making is that Eric Bailey is another classic example. We loved Eric Bailey, but he was rash at times and this, that and the other. And he played very few games. And when he was back, we was all pleased that he'd come back. He'd last 2 or 3 games and he'd be out again. But what I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make is now, is that you've got Leacher, you've got Shaw that can both play left centre-back and left-back. So rotate them so that they don't overstretch themselves. That's the point I'm trying to make. And if you get Branthwaite in, right, and they're still saying there's a chance of getting Branthwaite in, then utilise that. Don't flog them. Do not flog any of them, because they're all more than capable of playing in a position and playing well, for Manchester United, but rotate them so that they
He's
don't
flogging
get
himself,
the same
though.
pressure. Well,
he's flogging himself. He's flogging himself by playing for his country.
He's not going to want to move. He's on how much K per week? He's happy to stay there and complete that contract.
That's the other thing we need to consider, isn't it? We always say this, that the power is ultimately in the players' hands. And even to the extent if, the team did exile them or whatever, they got a contract, didn't they? If they didn't want to go, they didn't want to go.
I heard that Marcel was going to go to Sahih TV, but he won't pay his contract. You know what I mean?
My contract's too nice here, Kenny. My contract's too nice.
Is that Marcel?
We got to work on those exit payments, don't we, Marcel? That's what we got to figure out. Silver Club Super Chats here. Phil says, big ups everyone. Steph is back. Big up to Phil. Big up to Steph. Neil says, what will break the deadlock with PSG for Ugarte? Well, it might just be time. The suggestion was that when there's that PSG will eventually have to lower their asking price as it gets closer to the end of the window. Possibly negotiations with Jadon Sancho maybe going their way. That might break the deadlock with that, but certainly one to watch. I did see Romano did a cryptic retweet earlier today about that one, so maybe some news coming up there. Chalaboy Comics, regular contributor to the Full-Time View, says, I'm okay with Shaw. He's our Ledley King. He increases our chances of winning when fit by a large percentage. As long as Mazraoui stays fit, what did
Ledley King win?
Exactly.
It's Tottenham, though. You can't compare to Tottenham. That's Tottenham.
I don't remember.
Why are we having Tottenham standards?
No, but Luke Shaw is a good player, guys.
He went to Ledley King and he got injured straight away, didn't he? Ledley King as well. Remember that in South Africa? That's the case. Yeah. And just very quickly before we do wrap things up, we kind of spoke about this earlier on when it comes to the season, the expectations, etc. But it's early, and this will be one of these clips that UV Clips takes, and at the end of the season says, this is what everyone said at the start of the season where Manchester United were going to finish. But where do we all think Manchester United are going to finish in the league? And what do we think we're going to do in terms of the other competitions? Minna, I'll start with you.
Third in the league, Europa League and FA Cup.
and an FA Cup.
I like that. I like that.
Double trophies. Rich, what are you saying?
You know what, Mina? That's exactly what I was gonna say. I'm gonna go big, and I'm gonna say we're gonna win the Europa League because I want us to win that. No, not the league. You guys are looking at me like I said the league. Third place. I reckon we can sneak third place if everything falls in the right places. We're the current FA Cup champions, so why not retain our trophy? And yeah, that's what I'm looking at. 3 and 2 cups.
Kenny, what about you? Where do you think United
Well,
will finish?
I'm applying Marcel's principles from last year because when we was all down and all was fed up and depressed, Marcel kept us all going. And towards the end of the season, when we was in 5th place and couldn't get higher than 4th, Marcel said we was going to finish 2nd. But I don't know how he managed that. So what we're going to win. I'll apply Marcel's principles. We're going to win the Champions League, even though we're not in it. No, we're not. I think I'm being ultra positive, and if we stay fit, if we can keep our squad fit, I think we're second. I think we're capable of second. I do, honestly, because I see the other big 4. They're not progressing how I would expect them to progress. So I think we could quite easily make a lot of points up. I do. I think we get a good start, and we keep. I do think as well that if we can get to Christmas and we're there or thereabouts, I think Ineos will back us. I think Ineos will back us again. So I'm a positive second. I do want to think we're capable of doing second this year, and we'll definitely get a trophy. And I don't want the Europa League. I'd rather have the FA Cup.
Oh, there you go. Steph, what about you? What's your predictions for the season?
I think we're going to start slow. I think there's going to be a few bumps in the road before Christmas, and I think that's really going to affect where we end up at the end of the season. I would, excuse me, I would say we would finish outside the top 4 on goal difference. I think that we would get to top 4. I think we would be joint 4th, and we're gonna. I don't know. I just have this funny feeling, like inside me. I think that goals are going to be really important for us this season, conceding obviously and scoring. So that's like crucial for me. Like that's a personal thing that I'm going to be looking at. I think that winning the FA Cup and the Europa League is too much of a stretch, but I would rather win the Europa League than the FA Cup this season, just for the pure reason that we won it. We won the FA Cup last season. So,
and that'd be
I wouldn't be mad.
The
thing is, but I wouldn't be mad at that either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad. Like I would not be calling for Ten Hag's head if we finished just outside the top 4. I wouldn't. That's all dependent on how far we are down the table and how we perform in like cup competitions. But other teams are strengthening too. Like I feel like we're all being so positive, but we forget like that Man City is still Man City. Arsenal have strengthened their squad. I mean, Liverpool
Man City could be relegated.
Exactly. 150 charges.
Can I just say, I think now is just before Marcel and Owen give their predictions. Now is the time to be positive. Now is the time to go, because tomorrow at like 8:30, 8:45, we might be realizing that actually this is realistic. We're back to earth, all right? So I will always take the opportunity while it's there to be optimistic.
Yes, whilst it's still possible.
Exactly.
Speaking of anything's possible, Marcel, how are we going to do this season? I remember after the first game of last season, you said to Flex outside Old Trafford, you pointed at that stadium, you went, we will not lose here this season. Didn't really work out that way.
Yep.
But what do you think? What do you think this time round?
Yeah, I know, I remember that, but I'm going to say it now. Fulham win, Brighton win, Liverpool win, Southampton win. I think the next game after that is Spurs win. So the first 5 or 6 games.
Are you saying they're winning against us, or
Man United win? You say Man United?
Yeah, United wins. I think
Right.
you know, for Manchester United, we'll win all those 5 or 6
First
games.
5 or 6 wins in a row to start the season.
Yeah. Start nice and early. I think we'll get.
If we win 5 or 6 in a row, guys, I don't want to say it, but we're doing a title charge.
Yeah, I was going to say.
No. I think it'll be the way form that makes it a bit difficult for us throughout the season. But you know, I think the first few games of the season we'll win them. We'll finish 4th or within the top 4. I don't want to say a specific position, but we'll finish within the top 4. And hopefully it's Europa League that we win, but another trophy. I just want a Champions League qualification through obviously the league. Like I said at the beginning of the show, you know, it needs to be in the top 4, not qualification through a win of the Europa League, because that's how we really get to market or measure how well we're doing in our progress. The points amassed, the goals scored, the goals conceded, hope sure it's a low number, those kind of things. But I think we will struggle to do that, to implement the 4-2-4 away from home in comparison to at home. So yeah, but first 5 games, I think a couple of aways. I think Brighton and Southampton are the away 2 games in the first.
Where's the crack, Marcel? Where's the crack?
There's none. There's none. It's just honest beliefs there. For the first 5 games win, or first 6 games win, and we'll progress from there. I'm expecting a lot of goals this season, as like I said, guys, as well. Lots and lots of goals. Hopefully more than what we got last season.
Invincible season.
Positivity.
Owen, what's your prediction?
You know what? I'm going to go with. I kind of echo what people said here. I don't know if it's high as second. I think we can get 3rd or 4th. I think. I agree with what you guys are saying. Another trophy. I would like it to be the Europa League, just purely for. I think that might be the next step. You know, we've won 2 domestic trophies. Maybe the next step is a European trophy. I know it's not the European trophy, but that would be nice. And just considering that, again, I think we are the strongest team in that competition. My only concern would be that looked like that was going to happen a couple of years ago, the Europa League, didn't it? And then really the thing that ultimately cost us is our squad started falling apart because we just played so many games because we got to the final of... Because you think about it, that season, it was final Carabao Cup, win it, final of the FA Cup. We thought we were on our way to the Europa League, and eventually it was just too many games for us to actually process.
63 games.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we fell apart. So maybe with a few extra players, maybe that's a bit more possible, theoretically. I don't know. But Ten Hag wants to try and win every game, every trophy possible. So I'm gonna go with 3rd or 4th and the Europa League. Why not? And UV Clips will revisit this in several months' time. We'll all look like fools because United would have won the league and would be deemed non-believers.
Come on.
That's what it will be. That's what it will be. So there you go. Big up, guys. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciate everyone contributing. Where do we end up on the likes? We're currently at nearly 600 likes. If you haven't already clicked the like button on the way out, let's see if we can get it to 750. One more super chat, actually, that I think I've missed. From Joe Fleming. Says, it's not that deep. Who cares whether we can sell Shaw or not? Just buy another top drawer left back to compete with him, whether it's this summer or next. Well, we shall see. There's still time to go in the transfer market, so you never know. Big up to the panel. Big up to Minna. Big up to Rich. Big up to Marcel. Big up to Steph. Big up to Kenny. We'll be here back live every Thursday, of course. Full views now on Thursdays. Apart from if there's a game in the Europa League, of course, a bit like tomorrow with the Trinity games on Friday. So we're going to have to move things around. Hopefully, that's going to be a problem for us this season because we're going to be playing so many games because we're going to be in so many competitions. Hopefully, that will be indeed the case. And tomorrow, as always, we'll have full match day coverage for the curtain raiser of the Premier League season. And United are going to show everyone we mean business. We're going to send out a statement, yeah? You're not going to be laughing at us tomorrow. I know people are going to be hate watching, but it doesn't matter. You're going to be crying in your car at the end of it because you'll be like, oh, Man United are so good. That's what it's going to be. Anyway, guys.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, come on. Peace.